Thank you. We're going to do something a little exciting to see if we can keep within the 10 minutes. We're actually both going to talk about our new class, which is called Collaboration Studio. And you know, to talk about this and to set it up, I think the thing that I think is best to kind of create a context around it is that we wanted to present this in a way of a kind of dialogue, because so many institutions have a class like this, especially freshman year. There's some sort of hybrid studio, interdisciplinary kind of practice at the beginning. And we've just now launched this this current year, and we're in process right now. And so part of our goal with this presentation is to kind of talk about our thinking, and then hopefully to create a kind of dialogue where we can, you know, refer and talk to other institutions and take some of that knowledge back for us. So the hybrid interdisciplinary studio class is nothing new. It really does, I think, respond to the kind of demands of our millennial students, and it's really, I believe, a key part of a kind of 21st century art education. So, like many schools, our goal freshman year, this is the class we're talking about, is really to kind of develop a kind of intention within our students to really select and understand where they're headed in terms of their career path, as well as to understand a kind of personal and creative philosophy behind why they are doing what they are doing. So at CCAD, we've adopted this class, and it is foundational. And for me, I think of it as a kind of a response to the kind of the wolf at the door kind of thing. And so that's why I've got the wolf there. I know, it's very clever. And the reason for this is really to think about how many students come to us with such a wide and divergent skill set, that they come to us and they may have great entry skills with photography or animation, maybe painting, but they just have nothing in other areas. So they get here and they're pretty freaked out because they're very competent on one level, but they feel incompetent in another. So for me, in terms of this class, really is what, you know, really one of the foundational, most important aspects of it is really to kind of start a process where the student learns how to not only leverage their own skills, but to kind of grow with the skills of others. So that's really the main thrust of it. With that in mind, we started to change. So in 2011, Kevin came to us and started a massive change of what we were doing here with our curriculum. And I think what has happened has been a really exciting and dynamic kind of process. So this change in our curriculum was really about thinking about the first year, thinking about how we could implement best practices and really that would really affect our students and our faculty. So it's pretty monumental to institute a complete change of every class that you do freshman year. That's a big task. And there's a lot of stakeholders, and there's a lot of negotiation and a lot of discussion again and again and again. So I put this up here because I think this kind of sums up what happened with our thinking. That really we were doing the last 5 there already. We were doing material exploration. We were doing digital and visual literacy, color theory, all that good stuff. But we really weren't imbuing into the freshman curriculum a sense of collaborative practices. We weren't really fully embracing learner-centered or inquiry-based instruction. And we really weren't really on the right page or the same page with research practices. So this became our list of objectives, our list of priorities for that freshman year and for the changes. So to think about how we move forward, we first looked at what our colleagues were doing. We looked at the ACAD schools, and I discovered pretty fast that everybody had a different spin on how to approach a class like this. There were different ideas where there was a very open. I looked at Chicago and I thought, wow, that is so open, so amazing. I looked at Kansas City and I thought, my goodness, that's everything, you know. So I had to really think. We had to think a lot about how we would really kind of push this kind of course and really direct it towards the kind of institutional goals within our school. So the class we came up with is really kind of rooted in some concepts like the Don Tapscott's Growing Up Digital: The Rise of the Net Generation. His book, where he basically interviewed 300 members of what he called the Net Generation, and he really identified their characteristics and their learning styles. So this chart here was actually created by Sue Baker in Rethinking the Contemporary Art School, but the chart really does kind of break down kind of where we were with a kind of hierarchical knowledge based kind of instruction, and where we really wanted to go to a more distributed knowledge kind of instruction. For us, the big things that we had to look at were this idea of hypermediated learning, which is, again, the fact that all of our kids come in with so many different influences and sources that they're drawing upon. And this notion of learning how to learn, so that the kid that was excellent photographer really didn't have to feel lesser about his drawing skills or her animation skills or such, so that they could really pick that up. They could actually learn how to learn and engage in a way that was meaningful for them. We also needed to be, from this list, we wanted to be learner-centered. And we really wanted to concentrate on this idea of the teacher as facilitator. So this idea is kind of backed up by Mary Ellen Weimer's book, The Learner-Centered Teaching. And in that, this is a breakdown of how she determines or suggests how you can think of the teacher as facilitator. And so, with this, what was interesting to me about this was that we really kind of took these ideas and kind of broke them down and really thought about how this could lead to best practice and actions in the classroom. So for our class, Collaboration Studio, our desire was for faculty to not only lead students in a kind of project-based, kind of inquiry-based learning, but to also kind of model that behavior, to really kind of model how experts learn, how artists practice. And so with that, we enlisted several teachers. There's like 3 teachers teaching at each section of our collaborative studio. And we really also, I think, for me, I think the key too was to think about how we wanted to create this kind of environment where the students could thrive. So with that, we put together and created Collaboration Studio. So Collaboration Studio, it really does bring together every student from all the majors. Every freshman has to take it. The goal of developing and encouraging personal inquiry and interdisciplinary discovery is really, really key. And I think that structure of that class has become a kind of anchor to what we're doing in our freshman programming. So Julie Abijanic is our head of core collaborations. We work together to design and implement the class, and she's going to explain a little bit more about the class itself.
Hi, so I know I have, 4 minutes, probably?
We got it.
Okay. So, like Chris said, Collaboration Studio has 3 faculty members that collaborate together with a group of students that ranges between 52 to 55. And within this group, we break down the classroom so that there are 3 structured 5-week units. And the units provide potential real-world art and design experiences, including speculative product art and design, sequential time-based art and design, experimental interactive art and design. And as students shift from one unit to another, they get to experience a different faculty member, and they experience new collaborative teams. So I'm going to quickly go over the different types of stages that these students go through, which myself and the faculty members have to kind of help them through. So really quickly, there is, oh boy, I didn't write it on here, I can't see. Team structure, there's rebellion, negotiations, finding a common vision, and production, and then into presentation. So these are the steps that as facilitators, we find the students going through, and we have to help them through these stages to complete a project. Now, as they move from one unit to the next, it gets much easier. But the first time around, it's a little tough, but we get through it.
It's a first semester class.
Yeah, it is a first semester class, I'm sorry. So through the team structure, what happens is the students get to know each other, they get to figure out what their strengths are, who's better at what. They also get to talk to each other about roles that they may want to play within that collaborative team. Those roles do shift as we move through this. They start to talk about structures and how they want to structure the group, how they want to structure their learning opportunities, how they want to structure their research. And they also want to they'll have myself as a predominant faculty member, but sometimes in unusual events, I might bring in the other two faculty to help with any kind of, I don't know, questions they may have, or adding new opinions or offer new suggestions that maybe are outside of what I have. So that's the beauty of having 3 faculty members. They go through this rebellion stage. So they're all happy, they like each other, they're figuring things out, and they are doing great in the classroom. And then they leave the classroom, and I get an email from a blog forum that says, "There's not really much I can do. My talents start and end with drawing. And you guys have already taken care of that. I have nothing to add, nothing to contribute. At this point in our project, I'm as useful as a flamethrower in a hay barn." So, guess how many emails I get right after I get this? So, once something like this happens, then we have to manage the group, pull them back together, try to reconstruct the team, try to figure out how we're going to bring this person back into this team structure so it works for everybody and everybody's happy. And once we get those conflicts resolved, we tend to move forward quite smoothly, and we go for that. I mean, we do there's bumps in the road, trust me. It doesn't necessarily end there, but as we're going through these, we go through these series of negotiations because they're still trying to get over the email that they just got. And they're trying to really figure out, what is our vision? How are we going to develop the trust between each other that we need to have to follow through with the research, with the development of sketches, with presenting at a midpoint presentation, and then coming through with a final product. So as they're going through all these, they're starting to reestablish schedules. They're starting to reestablish their self-esteem within the group too once this happens. So I think that they find themselves coming back to a place where they can move forward. So once they've moved forward, they have found their common vision, and their common vision allows them to finally openly discuss how they want to see this project follow through. They start to understand that they all have multiple solutions to problems, and that they're open to hearing everybody's solutions. So there isn't like the head guy that's saying, I know everything, you have to follow me. It kind of changes. So that's a really nice thing to see happen. And then, again, they just start to embrace what's happening, and they really start to work well together, and they start following through with the product. So with the product, and this example here that I have is from one of the units, which was a speculative product design. And it was somewhat, they didn't realize it was somewhat rooted in social practice, but they were creating a vending machine that would allow for homeless and low-income people to be able to get provisions that they may not afford. Or toiletries. So that kind of started a new conversation and having an understanding for, what is social practice and how do we get more involved in this? And it really kind of, they get excited about knowing that they're helping people, and they start to find themselves agreeing upon where this object may be and why it would be there. And then they find They start to have an understanding for what the audience needs to know and where the audience needs to see these things. And of course, they're assessing their skills as they're going through this. All right, so finally, we go through the presentation part of this, and this is the point where the crystallization of the collaborative experience kind of comes together, and they get to show us all of the research and all of the artists that they were looking into, and they can, really glow in front of their other peers and show them how much that they've learned, and they get a lot of critical advice from us as well. And through this, these stages that they kind of go through prepare the students, we're hoping are going to prepare the students for careers in the 21st century as they move forward. And Chris is going to close this out.
So, thinking about this, the launch of this class and thinking about how we've been engaging with it, over the summer, I picked up Ken Bain's What the Best College Teachers Do, and started looking at it, and he has this breakdown of these what he did was he did a 15-year study looking at teachers and practice, basically, and what do the best teachers do? And for me, what was interesting was this quote here, and this is where I'm going to conclude, which he said, more than anything else, this is specifically about the idea of creating a natural, critical learning environment. More than anything else, the best teachers try to create a natural, critical learning environment. Natural because students encounter the skills, habits, attitudes, and information they are trying to learn, embedded in questions and tasks they find fascinating. Authentic tasks that arouse curiosity and become intrinsically interesting. Critical because students learn to think critically, to reason from evidence, to examine the quality of their reasoning using a variety of intellectual standards, to make improvements while thinking, and to ask probing and insightful questions about the thinking of other people. And so when I read this, I thought, oh my gosh, that's it. That's what this class is about. This is what we're trying to do desperately, really, is to try to model this environment. And so, my role is administrator and faculty both, and I want this class to be that thing that I model as an administrator that allows these wonderful things to take place. And I think this quote also sounds a lot like our students. So in thinking about this, what we've talked about in the larger context of ACAD, for me, I think what's so exciting about so many schools who have adopted this kind of thinking is to kind of share our ideas, the resources, that, how are we really fostering learning, especially at that critical moment at the beginning. So we'll stop there. That's 15 minutes. That wasn't too bad for us. So, all right, thank you.